Happy Sat Stacking Saturday. Welcome to the #1 daily Bitcoin pod. In today's show, I'll be sharing the latest Bitcoin technical analysis as we're breaking out back above 67,000 with 70,000 in play. We're also going to be discussing breaking news. Grayscale announces plans for a Bitcoin ETF spinoff, as well as Ether price may dip after the ETF novelty wears off due to the surging supply, and the official launch date is the 23rd this Tuesday for the Ethereum spot ETFs. We'll also be discussing in German, Michael Saylor issues a strong Bitcoin statement. I'll be sharing what he said. We'll also be discussing a $100,000 Bitcoin target incoming, according to deVere Group CEO Nigel Green. I'll be explaining why. We'll also be discussing all the latest with the big reports of Trump sending Bitcoin to $1 million per coin, adopting it as a U.S. strategic reserve asset, the latest insights from Dennis Porter, Max Kaiser, as well as the latest controversy surrounding Bukele and Trump. All this, plus so much more, in today's show. But anyways, fam, if you're new to the channel, very important to smash the likes. Go ahead and subscribe, then hit the bell icon to turn on all notifications to receive daily premium crypto news alerts every day, just like this. Today is pod episode number 1706. I'm your host, JV. Markets are pumping. We've been pumping since the failed assassination attempt on Trump. And today we're above 67 Gs. The current all-time high for the cycle, which we tapped in mid-March, is sitting at roughly 73.8. So what we're going to do here is check out our market watch as we do every day to kick off the show. And then we'll look at some of the live charts and do some live technical analysis. So here we have it. You should be able to see on your screen, this is Coin 360. You can see the bulk of the market back in the green. Bitcoin still up 0.5% on the day, trading above 67,400. We have Ether trading above $3,500, also up 0.5%. Big news is this Tuesday, that's when the ETH spot ETFs officially go live. So Tuesday, the 23rd, 3 more days. This could be very bullish for ETH. Obviously, over the long term, it could be very bullish for the entire market, but it could also be a sell the news event. You just never know in crypto. So keep that in mind. We also have Doge, one of the top gainers, up roughly 8% on the day. Solana's in the green, XRP's in the green, while Tron, Litecoin, and Cardano are correcting and in the red. And checking out CoinMarketCap.com. We're currently sitting on a $2.45 trillion market cap. The Bitcoin market cap is at 1.3 trillion. We had roughly 55 billion worth of volume, at least in the past 24 hours, with the Bitcoin dominance on the climb at 54.2%, with the Ether dominance at 17.3%. How high do you think the Bitcoin Dom will likely climb for the cycle? Let me know. And checking out the SOT 100 crypto gainers for the past 24 hours, we have Mantra, Ordi, and Dogecoin, followed by Brett, ZK, and Floki. Which alts, if any, are you bullish on for the bull? Holla at your boy. And checking out the crypto bubbles to get a visual perspective on the daily. Safe to say roughly 60% of the market in the green, some respectable gainers. But zooming out on the monthly, very similar, maybe 60 to 70% of the market in the green, with some of these coins up over 100%, but many of them I've never heard of, must be new meme coins. Bonk is up 40%, Solana up 25%, WIF up 25%, even XRP is up 19%, yo. And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, today we're back at a 74 in greed. Yesterday was a 60, last week was a 25 in extreme fear, and last month a 60 in greed. So there you have it. We just covered our market watch. Next up, we're going to check out technical analysis, look at the live charts, one of my favorite segments, and we're just going to get right into the live charts. There we go. So yeah, looking at this chart, this is the 1 hour, and then we'll zoom out from here, starting here. So this is the 1 hour chart. We do have a bullish pennant formation breakout. This is live and in the flesh, live chartage for you. So this is brought to you by TradingView via Coinbase. You can see the bullish pennant breakout. We do have a target at roughly 68,800. We also have a target sitting all the way at 70,500 for a bullish pennant pennant, and we do have a target sitting down at 64,900. I'd love for us to smash clearly that 70,500 target, as 70,000 is clearly the next psychological resistance level for Bitcoin to capture. And zooming out some from here, again, that's the 1 hour. Let's check out the 4 hour, and we'll work our way back. You can see we had some huge green candles which occurred, which are beautiful, which took us all the way back up above 67,000. And now we're starting to reascend again. Will we recapture 70,000? Let me know your thoughts. 4 hour chart clearly looking very bullish. And the two indicators you see are the RSI and the MACD, which we like to look at as well. So zooming out from the 4 hour, we'll take a look at the 1 day chart. And you can see how bullish this is. The past two green candles we just had, past couple of days. But prior to that, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green consecutive candles. And again, that all started after the failed assassination attempt on Trump. And ironic enough, that was 10 days, after Trump announced ultimately his embrace of Bitcoin and, all that fun stuff. And we know Trump is going to be speaking in a few days at the Nashville Bitcoin event in Tennessee, which is the largest Bitcoin conference there is. And there's going to be over 20,000 people there. And he may be delivering a very epic speech, which could be discussing adopting Bitcoin as a U.S. Treasury. We're going to be diving into that later, so stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing the latest updates regarding all of that. So here's the 1 day, also very, very bullish right now. And let's zoom out a little bit more, and we'll check out the 1 week. Again, live and in the flesh, we do have a bullish flag formation on the weekly chart, looking very bullish. We have a target at 94,000, and we have a target for a cup and handle all the way at $126,267. So ultimately 126 G's, which would take us to six-figure territory, which is ultimately approximately a 2x from here, right? 100% gain from here would take us from 67 to close to this cup and handle target, which is at roughly 126. So can you say send it? Let's get it. But wait, there's more. Let's also zoom out on the monthly. And as you can see here, monthly, we finally got a green candle forming. We did have 7 consecutive greens, so it's been very bullish for the past year, but then we finally got a corrective candle, followed by a green, followed by a corrective, and now we're going back green. I think we're going to get a green monthly close for the month of July. But let me know before we enter into August. And there's a lot of analysts also very bullish for September. Some say September, but I say September bull, because you got to consider where we are in the cycle. We just had a halving on April 19th, and typically history shows us post-halving we have 18 months of pure bullishness to reach and ascend new all-time highs and reach a new cycle high, which where's where we're at right now. So it's a beautiful time to be stacking sats. The smart money knows this. The whales know this. But let me know your thoughts, fam. That's the latest TA, what's happening with the charts. Let's go. Shout out DNA. Bitcoin's going to at least faux X. Faux X is amazing. 60, 120, 180, 240. That would take us roughly to $250,000 per biddy if we did a 4X. HODL is all I know. DCA smooth sailing. I predict 245. Word up. 80,000 this week, says Jerome. 80 G's. And I ain't talking J Powell. 80 G's would be obviously pretty lit. Once we surpass 73.8, that's going to take us back to price discovery, which is just a cute name, meaning all-time high. And the beauty there is it's unprecedented, meaning we can go as high as you can imagine. Bitcoin has no top because fiat clearly has no bottom, and anything is possible, and all things are possible with God, and all things are possible with the biddy. So you already know. But anyways, our next story of the day, now we finished our TA. Let's discuss Grayscale announcing plans for a Bitcoin ETF spinoff. That's right. July 19th, yesterday, crypto asset manager Grayscale announced plans to spin off a portion of its flagship Bitcoin fund, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, better known as GBTC, into a new exchange-traded fund. On July 31st, Grayscale will contribute 10% of the spot Bitcoin held by GBTC to its new ETF, and that's 11 days out, family. Grayscale Bitcoin Mini Trust Interesting. The mini trust. The company said the ETF is set to begin trading on the New York Stock Exchange Arca Exchange pending final regulatory sign-off. The current GBTC shareholders will receive shares in the mini trust in direct proportion to the shares they hold in GBTC. And as a result of the spinoff, GBTC holders will hold the same amount of spot Bitcoin as before, but across two different funds. And from a value point of view, say a theoretical person has 1,000 in ETHE or GBTC. After the spinoffs occur, it should essentially be $900 in the original fund and $100 in the new mini ETFs, according to Bloomberg ETF expert James Safart, who shared that on X. And on July 8th, Grayscale announced a similar move with its Grayscale Ethereum Trust ETF, while existing ETH shareholders receiving proportional distributions of shares in its new Grayscale Ethereum mini trust. The spinoff was a win for the current ETH holders because the mini trust management fees are a fraction of those charged by ETH. Now, the mini trust charges fees of 0.15% compared to 2.5% for ETH. Fees are calculated as a percentage of the fund's total assets under management. What a difference. I mean, obviously, who wouldn't want to pay 0.15% versus 2.5%, which is outrageous, just as the Bitcoin ETF fee from Grayscale is outrageous, I believe at the same 2.5% fee. Grayscale has not revealed the management fees for the Bitcoin mini trust, but industry analysts widely expect to see a similarly stark discount to those of GBTC, which currently charges investors 1.5% annual management fee, which again is very high compared to the competitors. Grayscale's GBTC and ETH funds are amongst the longest running spot Bitcoin and Ethereum funds in the United States, originally launched back in 2013 and 2017. The GBTC fund holds upwards of $17 billion in assets. A person familiar with the matter said the distribution would offer existing shareholders a tax-advantaged way of swapping out the legacy fund into the new ETF. But anyways, next story of the day. Here's the latest with the Ethereum ETFs, and I promise I'll share my screen. Ether price may dip after the ETH novelty wears off due to the surging supply. Well, Ethereum's price might decline after the initial buzz surrounding the spot ETF wears off and the supply continues to increase at the current rate, according to the analyst. Quoting him here, Benjamin Cohen, if the supply of ETH keeps increasing by 60,000 a month or 60K a month, like it has been since April, then by December, the supply will be back to what it was at the merge. Very interesting. Now, Ethereum, which became deflationary after the merge, saw its supply drop by approximately 455,000 ETH by April 2024. However, since then, the supply has increased by around 150,000 ETH. The analyst claims that if it continues to increase at this rate, it might revert to what it was prior to the merge happening over 2 years ago. Quoting him here, if the supply of ETH keeps increasing 60,000 ETH per month, then we'll see the supply revert to what it was back at the merge. He also says if it follows 2016, then ETH/BTC final capitulation will not start until September 2024, which would be enough time for the novelty of the spot ETF relative to Bitcoin to potentially wear off. And while he believes that in 1.5 years, the price of Ether will likely be higher than the current price, there is a decent chance that it declines within the next 3 to 6 months. And so it would ultimately is hinting at a sell the news event, kind of like what we saw with the Bitcoin spot ETFs when they launched back in January of this year. Meanwhile, just a few days prior, on-chain analyst Leon Wademan pointed out that Ethereum is facing a supply crisis, quoting him here. Exchange balances down 10%, while 39% of the ETH is locked in smart contracts, he stated in a post, claiming most investors don't realize how tight the ETH supply side is. 5-spot Ethereum ETFs will begin trading on the CBOE July 23rd, this Tuesday, family, pending regulatory effectiveness, which the CBOE just announced yesterday, July 19th. So on May 23rd, the US SEC approved rule changing permitting the listing of several Ether ETFs. The 5-spot Ether ETF set to commence trading are the 21 shares core Ethereum ETF, Fidelity Ethereum Fund, Invesco Galaxy ETH or ETF, and VanEck ETF, along with Franklin's Ethereum ETF. So there you go, crypto bros. Let me know your thoughts on the Ethereum ETF. Do you think it'll be a sell the news event? Do you think it'll make everything pump right away, or do you think it'll take some time, as the analysts suggested. Let me know your thoughts. But anyways, keep the comments flowing. I appreciate it. Here's the latest from Mikey Saylor, the one and only Giga Chat. He's also going to be in Tennessee at the conference. He just shared something in German, issuing a strong Bitcoin statement. We're going to break this down for you. So yeah, recently the German authorities, as you know, liquidated Bitcoin valued at $3 billion. Have fun staying poor, Germany. From June 19th to the 12th, the July government sold 49,858 biddies for approximately $3 billion and regarded as an emergency measure. The sales had a connection to a continuing criminal probe, but both politicians and business executives have expressed strong disagreement and disapproval over the extensive liquidation. The government promised the sales were carried out in a way that supported the market. Yet during the sale period, the value of Bitcoin fell more than 22%. So they definitely did not support the market. They could have did it over the counter and did some like private deals behind closed doors with like Justin Sun, who offered to buy the biddies off the German government, but they decided not to because it was an orchestrated attack, in my humble opinion, to crash the market, probably working with the United States government. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts. Even with the purported prudence, many have begun to doubt the actual market impact of such a big sell-off in the light of the recent precipitous decrease. The chairman of MicroStrategy, well-known supporter of the biddy, Mikey Saylor, has been amongst the most outspoken opponents for the German government's decision. Saylor expressed his disgust on social media by posting in German, "Until you run out of Bitcoin, it's not an emergency." His somewhat mocking remark demonstrated his tremendous conviction in the potential of Bitcoin by implying that running out of Bitcoin is an emergency in and of itself. Amen. And I didn't realize Mikey Saylor spoke German. Shout out Mikey Saylor. Michael Saylor instructed MicroStrategy to consistently invest in Bitcoin. They were the first publicly traded company to do so back in 2020. The company, with a $6.2 billion unrealized profit, spent $8.3 billion on the biddy, dedicated to the world's most popular digital asset. Saylor believes the current financial strategies must integrate it or have fun staying poor. German lawmaker Joanna Qatar joins Michael Saylor in her chorus of criticism. Qatar said the Bitcoin should be kept on hand as a reserve and regretted the government's decision to sell up its holdings, particularly at the time when Wall Street titans and other financial institutions are beginning to acknowledge Bitcoin. She called the selling useless. Hey, I agree. The liquidation in Germany has significantly drawn more backlash than the other countries like El Salvador. Bitcoin became a legal currency, a legal tender in El Salvador back in 2021, thanks to Bukele. And now the nation has 5,500 biddies worth around $300 million. And acting proactively, the Central American country treats Bitcoin as a regular form of money and implements regulations establishing private investment banks out of other digital assets as well. And Bitcoin banks coming soon, family. You'll be able to borrow against your biddy. El Salvador's laws reveal that more and more nations believe Bitcoin might be a valuable instrument for their own economies. Well, duh. The fact that the nation welcomes Bitcoin is quite different from Germany's decision to sell off its reserves. This opens the discussion about the impact of virtual currencies to national economies. In the meantime, Mikey Saylor's concerns about Germany's massive crypto liquidations will be something that Bitcoin aficionados will be closely keeping an eye on for the coming days in weeks. But yeah, next story of the day, I discussed the latest with Mikey Saylor. Let's discuss the 100K target, then the latest with Bitcoin soaring to $1 million off of the United States adopting Bitcoin, you know what I mean, and all the latest news surrounding that. But first, let's discuss this. 100,000 Bitcoin incoming, according to the deVere Group CEO, Nigel Green. Let's break it down. CEO of financial services firm deVere Group, Nigel Green, is predicting that the biddy will soon hit six figs. That's right. In a new video update, Green says Bitcoin could hit $100,000 before the end of 2024, a more than 52% gain from the current value due to the increasing demand. Quoting him here, right now, Bitcoin is tipped to be perhaps the best performing asset between now and the end of the year. Right now, Bitcoin is 60 Gs. They say it is going to be over 100,000 by the end of the year. Is that logical? Well, it is possible. Why? Well, there is a limited number of the biddy. There is only 21 million Bitcoin. So in other words, as demand goes up, and it is, then of course the price goes up as well. It is not like something like the US dollar, which they can just print more, or even shares where people attitudes towards them change, and profits are sometimes expected to be higher and come in lower than expected. He also says other potential bullish Bitcoin catalysts include the possible election in November of Trump as the U.S. president. The former U.S. president and current Republican presidential nominee has spoken in favor of the Bitcoin and other digital assets. Bitcoin is like a digital currency. Many people think, including Donald Trump, that it is similar to gold. Donald Trump said himself, if he wants to make sure that America is at the center, or he does want to make sure that America is at the center of the crypto industry, he shared that in a speech. Other reasons he believes the top digital asset by market cap could be extremely or do extremely well include the demand from the spot Bitcoin ETFs and global uncertainty. Quoting deVere Group CEO again, you've got ETFs. BlackRock, for example, has bought $1 billion worth of the Bitcoin for its ETF. Will Bitcoin go up in value? Well, it's certainly expected to do so. Global uncertainty, which of course, who knows what happens in the future, but we do live in an uncertain world. Again, it tends to make more people invest in Bitcoin. And he definitely makes a great point. We live in a very uncertain and chaotic world. And Bitcoin is a hedge against all that uncertainty, family. It's a hedge against inflation. It's a hedge against deflation and so many other, benefits for stacking the sats. And if you want to watch the interview with the deVere Group CEO entitled Bitcoin to hit 100 G's, check the show notes below the video in the description over on the Tube or over on Rumble. And there you go. Now let's dive into our feature story of the day, and discuss the latest of what's popping. Bitcoin jumps nearly 10% on the news of Bitcoin Strategic Reserve announcement. The market is signaling the USA must pursue a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. That's right. Will Trump send Bitcoin to $1 million by adopting Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset or adopting Bitcoin in the U.S. Treasury? Well, let's discuss it because this is hot. A lot of excitement surrounding this right now. And also, I'm going to be sharing a lot of stuff. I don't even know where to start. Let's actually start with the headline. But first, I'm going to read you tweets, and then we'll get into the story. This person says, the Block Tower Capital CIO, Ari Paul, 10-to-1 odds against U.S. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve by 2028. He's ultimately saying he can see it happening, but he's betting against it. However, there are those more optimistic. And I want to start with the more optimistic bunch first, including Dennis Porter, who recently wrote, breaking, Bitcoin jumps nearly 10% on the news, a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve announcement. The market is signaling the U.S. must pursue a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Also in other tweets, Simon Dixon, another OG here at Bitcoin, getting more and more confirmations that these rumors may be true. Trump to announce a U.S. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve in Nashville, Tennessee. This week, next week. I mean, it's right around the corner. Yeah, this coming week. So that would be pretty lit, obviously. That could send Bitcoin easily to 100 G's, in my opinion. Dennis also wrote, people don't believe the USA could implement a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, but at this point, it is inevitable. And he has been calling it for a very long time. And in other tweets, this influencer wrote, everyone should have a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. You, your family, your business, your city, your state, your country, everyone. Why? It's going up forever. Laura and Melda. He also recently shared, as Bitcoin closes in on becoming a strategic reserve asset in the USA, it is entirely possible the Bitcoin will be well on its way to $1 million per coin. Agreed. If it gets adopted as a strategic reserve asset in the States and game theory plays out as we're anticipating it with the global hash war, that's precisely what's going to happen. $1 million, easy peasy. Let me know your thoughts. He says, that means the $13.5 billion in Bitcoin currently held by the U.S. Marshals will be worth $210 billion. There's 1, 2, 3 commas. I believe that's billion. 210 billion from 13.5 billion. Let me know if you agree or disagree with this prediction by Dennis Porter. He also recently wrote, I've been taking calls with reporters nonstop for the last 24 hours to talk about the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Even the mainstream media is waking up to the potential of Bitcoin. Eventually, the entire world will be pro-Bitcoin. This much is true. It's happening, family. Now, he also wrote, a journalist from a major news outlet called to learn more about my work to get pensions to buy Bitcoin. I find this one interesting. He said, I talked to a lot of skeptics who said it's too risky to add Bitcoin to their pensions. My response, it is in fact riskier not to have Bitcoin in their pension. Preach. What so many people still do not understand about Bitcoin is that it is a non-correlated asset, which essentially means if you add Bitcoin to your portfolio and everything else goes to zero, Bitcoin can still be worth something. That is important to people who hold a lot of wealth. Once someone is wealthy, their goal is to stay wealthy. Facts. And adding Bitcoin to a portfolio is one of the best ways to de-risk a portfolio from going to zero. Real talk. An important metric to pay close attention to here is the Sharpe ratio, which measures risks as compared to potential returns. Adding Bitcoin to a balance sheet improves this number. Think of the Sharpe ratio like this. Imagine two runners in a race. Runner A runs very fast, but often stumbles and falls. High returns, high risks. Then we got runner B, runs a steady pace without stumbling. Moderate returns, low risk. Then we have runner C. Usain Bolt runs super fast and super smooth without breaking a sweat. High returns, low risk. The Sharpe ratio measures how effectively each runner converts their speed into a smooth, consistent run without falling. A higher Sharpe ratio means the runner or the investment is better at turning speed, which is returns, into a steady, safe race of risk-adjusted performance. So the idea is that Bitcoin is Usain Bolt, and although Bitcoin grows quickly, it can do so steadily over the long time horizon while also being uncorrelated to the rest of the market. That type of product is very good for a portfolio. In fact, it is so good that some of the largest asset managers in the world are now telling their clients to add Bitcoin to their portfolios. BlackRock. So in closing, and I hope the journalists I spoke to can see this, despite the fears around Bitcoin, that does not change the truth around its potential to de-risk a portfolio. And it is not just me saying this, it's BlackRock, it's Fidelity, and Vanguard, with BlackRock producing research around this topic. That research, an optimal allocation of at least 9.5% towards Bitcoin, and they have over 10 trillion in assets under management. In fact, I've actually saw one of their research reports from a couple of years ago, which I've covered numerous times on the pod, of recommending 84.9% Bitcoin allocation to their portfolio or to your portfolio. So imagine if they actually did that, where that would send the Bitcoin price. You know what I mean? Now, here's a prediction from the Bitcoin therapist. My 12-month prediction, Trump wins the election. The Fed pivots on interest rates. There is no recession. Bitcoin goes to $250,000 per coin. AI and data centers take off. Bitcoin miners go absolutely insane. And the greatest 4-year bull market in history. Now for some tweets from Max Kaiser. I shared yesterday some of the controversy, which all began with Trump making a speech and blaming Bukele for sending El Salvador's worst criminals to America. Quoting Trump here from the actual speech, he's trying to convince everybody what a wonderful job he does in running the country. Well, he doesn't do a wonderful job. So Max naturally took offense to that, and he wrote, I'd be talking ish too if I just had my ear shut off by the CIA. Trump is wrong as what? Just ask Tucker Carlson. I'm looking forward to July 27th at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. I am sharing a stage with Trump, and I'll set him straight about El Salvador, Bitcoin country. Man, oh man, I cannot wait to hear Max and Stacy's speech. And of course, I can't wait to hear Trump's speech. And again, that's right around the corner. 7 days out, family. Let's go. That'll be next Saturday. Now, he also shared this. Should be ready when Trump is sworn in. If he has any trouble adapting to the new era of Bitcoin as global reserve currency and the Bitcoin global hash war, simply ask the philosopher king, President Nayib Bukele. And quick shout out to Chandy. She just gifted 5 memberships to the channel. So congratulations, Bobby Digi, Alan David, Mar Very, Jose Cuevo, Kenny G, and the rest of the fam. You've all been hooked up with the MicroStrategy membership of the channel. On behalf of Chandy, so show Chandy some love. Make sure to subscribe to her channel, Chandy 10 Music. But back to our story here. So yeah, Max has been tweeting like a mofo regarding, all of this. I've been sharing a lot of it. He also shared yesterday, Trump was sent by Satoshi, but he needs to make Bitcoin legal tender and get the U.S. into the global hash war or Satoshi will be angry. So there you go, yo. And now diving deeper into Ari and his prediction regarding 10-to-1 odds that this happens. He wrote word for word, I'd lay 10-to-1 against the U.S. adding Bitcoin as a strategic reserve in the next 4 years, ultimately by the time of the next halving, which will be in 2028. Bet me now if you're going to make fun of me for being wrong in 4 years. But with that said, plausible to me that Trump might say it, which would be very bullish for Bitcoin, medium time frame. And this was off the back of Dennis Porter announcing this on the 18th. Huge breaking. Trump to announce a USA Bitcoin strategic reserve in Nashville. And he wrote, P.S. This is not a joke. My sources are credible, but I got to give credit first and foremost to Max Kaiser, because Max actually shared on the 15th, 3 days before Dennis Porter, that Trump was likely to make some form of announcement at the Nashville event adopting Bitcoin for the United States. So Max gets full credit on that. And so yeah, let's dive into this one. The idea of the United States government holding a Bitcoin strategic reserve may be bullish for the price, but it is unrealistic to actually come to fruition in the near term, at least according to Ari Paul, Chief Information Officer of Block Tower. Again, I already read you word for word what he shared. With that said, plausible me that Trump might say it, which would be very bullish for the medium time frame, he added, amid traders pointing out the struggle that Bitcoin had reclaiming 65,000 as support in the recent times. Well, we blew past that now, didn't we? We're above 67. Paul further explained that while it may be possible that the next president say they don't intend to sell any of the government's current Bitcoin holdings, it doesn't mean they're actually establishing a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Quoting him here, what counts as a declaration? An off-the-cuff statement by Trump, an executive order? The U.S. government confiscates Bitcoin in an ongoing way already. A strategic reserve is a store of resources kept by governments for emergencies or unexpected events. For example, the U.S. government holds the largest supply of emergency crude oil, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is held to reduce the effects of potential oil supply problems. Paul's comments follow social media speculation that former President Trump may announce plans to designate Bitcoin as a strategic reserve if he wins the election. This announcement is expected during the Bitcoin 2024 conference next week in Nashville. In fact, let me know if you guys are going to be there. And a lot of influencers are very bullish. Vivek wrote here, Bitcoin price if Trump announces a Bitcoin strategic reserve plan for the USA, a $1 million. I know Simon Dixon also very bullish from Bank to the Future. People don't believe the USA could implement a Bitcoin strategic reserve, but at this point, it's inevitable, said Dennis Porter of the Satoshi Act Fund. Everyone should have Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. You, your family, your business, your city, your state, your country. Well said. Satoshi couldn't have said it better himself. It comes after entrepreneur and investor Mark Cuban recently speculated that geopolitically instability and inflationary pressures may propel Bitcoin to become a global reserve asset. And let's never forget, that same man, Mark Cuban, once compared Bitcoin to bananas and said, bananas are more valuable. They have more intrinsic value than Bitcoin. He was actually one of the biggest Bitcoin haters. Even he is coming around. I mean, the writing is on the wall. But what are your thoughts? Do you think if Trump really did adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender or as a strategic treasury reserve or a strategic reserve asset, some way, somehow implemented Bitcoin into the United States, how do you think that would impact the global market as far as Bitcoin and the rest of the world as game theory continues playing out in real time? Let me know your thoughts. And do you think Trump will make that announcement at the conference? And let me know if you're going to be there. And I'm looking forward to that. So you already know.